I want to make 1,000,000 fabric flowers. Sneak peek, I've already started this project and it's turning out really well. Hi, my name is Jane and this is a slightly informative video about how to make fabric flowers. If you don't know, I'm making my wedding dress. I have a video series, I guess you could say, about this process. I've done a video chatting about everything that I'm gonna be making for the wedding because it's more than just my dress, but I've also done a video about what the dress is gonna be like. And so this week I have to make fabric flowers for the dress. I'm pretty much in love with haute couture gowns, and I was doing my research, watching all of these videos on YouTube, and I saw that they actually use big metal stamps to cut out the flowers that are embroidered onto these gowns, and I've kind of found a way to replicate it at home. So I'm pretty excited. I have made flower girl dresses already for my wedding, and for these I did put flowers on top of them, but I purchased flowers from Michael's and just took the little petals off of the fake flowers that I bought. And I've also tried zigzag stitching the edges of just quilter's cotton and making each petal by hand and then sewing those on, but neither of those really worked super well for me. And if you go online and look to purchase fabric flowers, they're kind of pricey, I'm not gonna lie. Not really in the budget for me right now. So here's the plan. Allow me to introduce you to this marvelous invention called a die cutter. I had never heard of one of these until last week. A bunch of people commented that I needed to get one. I looked it up and it's basically perfect for me. I did purchase one for about $100 on Amazon. It's the Sizzix. I don't know what it's called, but it's the cheapest option. It is a manual die cutter, and I think that they do have electronic ones, but from what I've seen, they're quite expensive. Anyway, it's wonderful and I love it, and I'm going to be using it so much in the future that I didn't mind purchasing it. I also purchased a bunch of flower dies. I mean, really a bunch. I got all of mine on Amazon. I didn't really like shopping from Amazon, but I don't know where else you can find flower dies. And this is spelled D-I-E-S, not D-Y-E-S, by the way. Now, as I said, I got the idea for a die cutter from the stamps that people use in ateliers of haute couture, and they also hand dye all of their flowers, so I had to hand dye all my flowers too. But I purchased my dye before I started the project, and so I actually purchased all-purpose dye from RIT. It was cheaper and they had more colors than the synthetic dye, and so I knew that I had to use fabric that was either silk, wool, cotton, or rayon. Because Joann's has no transparent options of cottons or silks, I purchased some rayon. I've never worked with rayon before. I gotta say, we're not friends. We don't get along very well. It frays and it's annoying, and it is pretty, it's shimmery. I don't like the drape of it. I wouldn't use it in a dress. Sorry, this is just me being a hater on rayon. But anyway, I did cut it out the size of the cutting board of the die cutter. Fairly quickly into the project, I realized that I did not care about my fabric being the same size as the cutting board. As long as it was smaller than the cutting board, it was good to go. And I didn't really have enough flower dies. I know I had a lot, but I didn't have enough to really pack the board every time because I was avoiding the small ones because they were just too small. So yeah. I initially thought that stiffening my fabric with a just general fabric stiffener would really help create the flower's shape, but I realized that since I was dyeing the fabric later on, it actually didn't matter at all, so I scrapped that idea. However, I quickly realized that I did want to do opaque flowers as well as transparent because working with the rayon was so difficult. It just frayed so badly and the fabric cutters didn't even cut it. So I decided to use old bed sheets. So I want to do a mixture of opaque and transparent flowers. I need to be using 100% cotton because my fabric dye only works on cotton. It's not the polyester dye from RIT. So I'm just searching through my fabric scraps, and I would like to use up scraps for this project, but they don't have tags on them. So I don't know whether it's cotton or polyester. You know, like worst comes to worst, I could do it and it just doesn't hold the dye, which is fine by me because I could use some white flowers anyway. But I have a pretty massive bag of white fabric scraps. Hey, it's wedding sewing. I mean, I gotta have it. But yeah, that's my dilemma right now. It's not that big of a dilemma, but it is a dilemma a little bit. I ironed out the bed sheets, which resembled cotton. I don't know if you can actually tell if something's cotton or polyester, but just the ones that felt more organic. I ironed them out, and then I cut out a ton of fabric flowers from the cottons, and oh my gosh, it was so much easier than the rayon. I ended up cutting out way more cotton flowers than rayon. All right, now for the fabric dyeing. I was pretty excited about this step just because I had bought the fabric dye a while ago and was ready to test it out and see how it worked. I also thought that I would be using nitrile gloves for this because it says do not get it on your skin, but I ultimately decided that it actually didn't really matter. It was probably okay to get a little bit on my skin. I did, of course, wash it off right away. But it is very important that you dilute this stuff. Whenever you're dyeing clothing, it says use the whole bottle of dye for like 3 gallons of water. So I just did a little tiny splash of each of the colors in jars of water. And I did have to play around with how much I was using because obviously for the light pink, which is in the middle here, I needed a little bit more dye than for the red and the darker pink. And I also kind of mixed the colors as I put them on my flowers. I did actually have to spread out every single one of my flowers by hand on the newspaper, and my room was a complete disaster during this process because each of the flowers had to be individually dyed and then left to dry for like a day or so. So it was a pretty lengthy process. I did decide to go ahead and do more pink flowers while I still have my pink fabric dye out, because why not? No such thing as too many flowers. But I did want to say that I'm defending my thesis tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and I can't think about it. Like, I don't want to think about it. I'd rather make fabric flowers right now. I might as well be productive because I can't really do anything with my brain. I'm stressed out. I feel like I have the same reaction to public speaking as I do to being chased by a pack of wild animals through the forest, and I don't like it at all. And whenever you see this video, I hopefully will have passed my thesis and I'll be done with it. So that's super exciting for me, not for anybody else. Yeah, that's what's going on tonight. Maybe I'll start on the yellow or the blue. We'll see. After doing my round of pinks and reds and purples, I moved on to my blue flowers and then yellow. And I did kind of develop a system for just spreading out newspapers on all of my floor and then putting the flowers on there and doing a round of one color and then switching up the color, etc. You get the gist. My room is very small and I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty much always messy. I did stay up super late working on these flowers for a couple of nights, so apologies for the poor lighting. Oh, by the way, I did pass my thesis defense. I just wanted to throw that out there in case you were curious. But yeah. All right, my last step for the project, once the flowers were done drying, I did give them a quick press with my iron just to make sure that the dye was totally heat set. But then I took permanent fabric markers and drew little lines and squiggles and doodles on the flowers because I wanted them to be just a little bit more colorful and just have that added flair, sparkle, whatever. So my flowers are complete. I said I was gonna make 1,000 and I think I actually made more. I have this bucket right here, and just to be clear, there are a lot of flowers in this bucket. Here, let me show you. And then I also have this bucket, which is even bigger. All right, these are my fabric flowers. I love them. I think that they're so beautiful. They genuinely do remind me of the videos that I was going off of, the like haute couture, mon précieuse videos on YouTube. And I'm so pleased about that. I'm really excited to actually put them on the dress though. I will be sewing multiple of them together with beads at the center, if that makes sense, just to make sure they're kind of three-dimensional and cool and funky. And there will be different colored beads for everything because I don't want them to be too uniform. Right now they do look like a nursery color scheme, but I will fix that. So it's gonna be good. I'm just really excited. I do wish that I could just like have the dress and then just throw the flowers on and have them stick and not have me have to hand sew everything on, but it's gonna be so good. Apologies for the very poor lighting. It is storming outside, but I just wanted to say, if you're still here, thanks for watching my video. I really appreciate it. If you're interested in seeing more of me, I am on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest at Jane's Dresses, and all of that will be linked below. I hope you have a lovely day. Tell me what you're working on, and if you have any tips for me, I would really love to hear them. I've already learned so much from people on social media, and it has been so incredibly helpful during my wedding process. So yeah, next week I'll be starting the toile for the dress, or doing the toile. I need to get the toile done next week. Do a little montage of me playing with my fabric flowers. Maybe I should.